Alright, welcome back ladies and gentlemen to the Chupacabra Tutorials channel. I'm your host Larry, and today we're back to talk about how you can remove darn near anything from your pictures in Photoshop, using the various tools to clone, heal, and copy our way out of a little bit of a snafu. So today I got a few random photobomb pictures because I just googled photobombs. And there's a lot of pictures of people's weddings getting ruined and like their special occasions getting ruined. So we're going to edit some of the details out of some of these photos to remove different features from them. So to start out with, we're going to remove these two surfers from this photo that this couple was trying to take, like a gazing out at the ocean and their future together type thing, I'm sure. And then these random surfers are just like, oh, there's people taking pictures? Neat. And they just like walk right through the whole thing. So to begin with, I'm going to make a copy of that original, that original layer by hitting Control J. And then we're going to select these two to remove them. So I'm going to hit L to get out the lasso tool. Let's just make like a quick little selection. And the easiest tool that has been added to Photoshop since I was in college is the Content Aware Fill tool. So if you hit Shift F5, this is the fill tool. This can do everything from filling in like a color to your selection. If you hit Shift F5 again, or we can do Content Aware. Now, what is Content Aware doing? Content Aware looks at the area around where you've selected and tries to remove the selection and fill it in with everything else. So like it was never there in the first place. And I'm going to let it do color adaptation where it tries to blend it with the colors of the scene. I'm not going to blend it specially to like add like a really weird effect. And I'm not going to preserve transparency. I'm just going to hit OK. And boom, that actually did a pretty good job. I mean, I might want to clean up the sand where they were standing, but 90% of what was a problem has been removed. Let me just grab some random sand here. Whoa, that was not what I wanted to do. We could just remove that giant layer. For some reason it pasted in the other picture that I had just copied and put into Photoshop. So we'll say Control C, Control V, and then we'll try to just like slap that over top of where they were standing and like, look, it's like they were never there. It's amazing. Now, the other options that you have in the case of Uncle Daryl over here, or whoever this guy is, and there's also some random buoys in the background, we can use the Cologne stamp tool. Hit S, and what the Cologne stamp does is when you target it with Alt and click on a spot, you can literally clone it anywhere in the picture. And we can use this to remove certain elements of this photo if we're smart about it. So I'm going to make a new layer, and keep the clone stamp selected, and this is going to sample the current layer and below. That way any changes that I make to this image I can turn off by just toggling this layer. And from here, I'm gonna actually just start with, if it wants to let me make my brush a little smaller, I'm gonna start with selecting some of the surf and just kind of erasing the buoys in the background, and it's a good idea to just be careful not to edit too much at one time, because it's very easy to make it look like you're copying lazily from other points on the screen. And that's one of the big problems. This is not really a very smart filter, but it kind of gets the job done for certain things that you need it for, where you don't really need to be subtle. But now for Uncle Daryl, we need something with a little bit more oomph. And up here we got this Band-Aid tool. And the first version of the Band-Aid tool is kind of like the Content Aware Fill tool. I can select it, and it'll make kind of a decent-y guess at, if I make a copy of the original layer, sometimes it doesn't like working off of higher layers. It kind of tries to fill in the blanks, but it doesn't always do the best job, right? But I can use its friend, the Healing Brush tool, which works exactly like the clone stamp. I can target a specific spot on the page, but unlike the other one, it'll actually try to actively blend it together, so I can decide what point on the picture it's using as a reference rather than just hoping that Photoshop does a good job. And, well, I'll be honest, smart tools like this do an okay job, but they're not by any means perfect. And so we're just going to try to paint out Daryl as best as we can, little by little, like he was never even there. Poor Daryl. We barely invited him to the wedding, and he only came because of the open bar, and now we're erasing him from the picture. What have we done? Feeling monstrous. Whoops. We want to try to get this edge here and line it up as best as we can. Yeah, that's not bad. Now, unfortunately, this tool kind of tries to blend the colors a little too much, and for that, we'll just try to paint over it a few times, being as gracious as we can to try and paint, even maybe with a smaller brush, try to paint out anything that looks amiss in those waves. And we can kind of just paint our way up through here, where he was jumping up through the air, trying not to make it, again, trying not to use the same reference point too many times, otherwise you get repeating patterns, and it looks like there was something that was supposed to be there. Now, unfortunately, we got like a really weird color cast going on here, so we're gonna have to really paint the heck out of this to get rid of it. There we go. We just want to make it look like random ocean. And sometimes this works better than others, especially when I'm trying to rush for the sake of a tutorial, so this tutorial doesn't take 30 minutes to do. But once you kind of get practice with this and you take your time and you really try to work on how this looks, it should turn out pretty decently, honestly. Yeah, that's looking okay. It kind of looks like it's getting like a weird shine effect off of the sunset to one side. But again, if we don't like that change, we can just delete that layer and we can try again with another tool. So if we hit the plus sign again, there's another tool in here called the patch tool. And then this we can use to like say like, okay, here's Daryl. We don't really want him here anymore. We can select him and then we can, whoops. And then we can oh, I guess it wants to have a whole layer underneath of it. It doesn't want to use the other layer. It doesn't want to use the above layer, so we'll just make a new copy of that. We'll just select old Daryl again. And what this is going to let us do is we can move it over where there's like a good body of water to work from, trying to line up the horizon just right. And then Photoshop will do a pretty okay job stitching it together, and then we can take the healing brush tool, make it really small, and then we can kind of like blend these points together. So that actually worked pretty well to remove Daryl. And we can use these points together to kind of like blend it gently. And that actually looks pretty good. You can kind of tell if you're looking for it. And it doesn't help that this is a smaller photo, so there's a little pixely to begin with. But if you're very gentle with it and you slowly blend it together, you can more or less get it to the point where it looks authentic. And like you didn't have to edit Daryl out of it because he was drunk at the open minibar and decided to go on a type of rampage never seen since the fall of Pompeii. Let me just remove that. And then some of these buoys. I always hate when there's like random objects in the background of things that kind of ruin the scenery. But there you go, not bad. I mean, if you zoom out, you probably wouldn't even notice it. Alright, now for this last image, we have a lovely couple who, I don't know if they got married or if they're just having a nice day out, but a dog was clearly trying to join them in their happy moment and decided that he was completely overcome with emotion and decided to take a dump in the water. At least I think that's what he's doing. And our lovely friend over here, Paige Bardos of Paige Bardos Photography, captured this loving moment, but I'm afraid we're gonna have to clean this up. So to do that, we're gonna make another layer, and we're gonna try to erase the dog. But the dog may not want to erase as well as you might hope. So we're going to select the healing brush tool again, and we're gonna slowly try to paint out the, whoops. I don't want to keep the dog's tail. That just looks like somebody's trying to take a dump in the water. And then that is actually not looking too bad, like right off the bat. But unfortunately, you can kind of see that there's a bit of a line. So what I want to do is I want to add just a little bit more action in the water. And then we're going to hit the mask tool, grab our soft brush, which should automatically select the brush tool, if not hit B. And then I'm going to lightly soften the edges here, kind of like a gradient, and then being careful not to reveal the dog underneath, so that there isn't like this hard line at the bottom that obviously shows that there used to be something here. And I'm even going to make this a little bit bigger. It still pretty much matches the color, like the patterning of the waves, but we just want to like lightly soften this edge here, so that to the untrained eye, or the eye that's not really looking for this, it just looks like the ripples in the water were a little funny. Totally doesn't look like we're trying to hide a dog taking a big steamer in the middle of somebody's like wedding reception or something. And then, yeah, that looks pretty good. So that's another way you can just kind of like throw it on there and blend it a little bit. You could even make like a duplicate of that layer and move it over a little bit and blend the other side with a large blended brush so that it kind of looks like that's just a thing that happens in the water. And there, that looks pretty decent. They're kind of wibbling the water around. The dog was wibbling the water around, but now he's not. Everybody goes home happy with this loving moment where they're laughing at who knows what. Maybe this isn't even a loving moment. Maybe he's like crazy chest smotherer who's got another victim. I don't know. But it turned out pretty well without the dog. And so that's just kind of a look at how you can remove a lot of different things with a few basic tools inside of Adobe Photoshop. I hope you found this tutorial helpful. I've been your host, Larry. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and I will catch you next time. Bye, everybody, and have a good one.